So today we are creating One Piece tier list. So let's get started. Starting off we have East Blue Saga. So when I think about East Blue Saga, I think about Arlong Park, the amazing moment with Zoro and Mihawk. I think East Blue Saga overall is a solid B tier. While there are highs of certain moments, the lows are pretty bad. The Orange Town arc is not a great arc, or the Syrup Village arc is an okay-ish arc. So let's start off with the first, Romance Dawn. Romance Dawn is the arc where Shanks gets the most screen time, so it pretty much makes it an S tier. But because I'm pretty reasonable with my approach, let's give it an A tier. Next up we have Orange Town arc. It's an arc where One Piece hits a pretty decent low, so let's give it a D for now. But also Buggy was introduced, so it could go into C. Let's give it a solid D instead of a low D. Syrup Village arc is another one of those arcs which I'm not really a big fan of. Overall, it's a decent arc, but not something to brag about. So below, it's like along with the Orange Town arc. The Baratie arc is pretty good if you ask me. The Hawkeye vs Zoro moment is insane, goosebumps inducing moment if you ask me. So if I had to rank it, it would go into a solid A tier, and it's pretty much above the Romance Dawn arc. Arlong Park, while you could argue that Arlong Park wasn't that good of an arc, from out of all the initial arcs, I think Arlong Park is the one where One Piece shines the most brightest. The Nami movement, the walk to Arlong Park are some of the most iconic moments of One Piece. I think Arlong Park is one which signifies what One Piece is about the most in the initial of arcs. So I think overall it's a S tier arc. It's just my opinion. You could argue with that. While Lockdown introduced Smoker, Tashigi, and builds a dynamic between the Straw Hats and gives more insight about Luffy, how he's willing to die for his dream. The best part about Lockdown comes out in Dressrosa, where you get to know that Bartholomew was inspired in Lockdown. So I think Lockdown deserves a solid B tier. The Alabasta arc as a whole is good, great. But the Alabasta arc is also a B tier. No, it's an A tier because Alabasta introduces Crocodile, and it also gives you the dynamics of devil fruits, how one devil fruit can counter the other. It gives pretty much a lot of insight about the world of One Piece, the seven warlords. It also introduces Ace. Overall, it also introduces the Elbaf race. So I think it's a solid 8 here. Other than that, oh my god. So Reverse Mountain. This is the arc where Raftail is first mentioned. Also, you get to meet Crocus. The later arc of Brook is set up here. The Reverse Mountain overall is a solid B tier. Whiskey Peak is one of those arcs which I don't think is the most beautifully written arc. While you do get the Zoro movement of 1 vs 100, it's overall a decentish arc. Also, the Luffy vs Zoro fight didn't make any sense because right now you know it, I know it. Luffy is willing to die for his crew. So overall, I think Whiskey Peak is a loosely written arc, so let's give it a C tier. A D and more so a C tier. Little Garden. A lot of time could have been saved in Little Garden. I don't think Little Garden as the best of One Piece, but it's definitely not the worst of One Piece. I think this deserves a solid C with a promotion to be in the future if it gets more important. But I think right now a C is more than enough. So my viewing of Drum Island, it's a pretty great arc because Drum Island not only introduces Chopper but also gives you the Hiluluk moment of when do you think people die. And so I think overall Drum Island is a solid B tier with a promotion to A. Alabasta arc it in itself it's pretty long. And that's my only problem with Alabasta, but overall Alabasta had some great fights with Zoro vs Mr. One, Luffy vs Crocodile, also Ace has its moments. Overall I think Alabasta deserves an A. Next up we have Sky Island as a saga, easy A. I don't even wanna discuss why Sky Island is an A. It's just good. Jaya is also one of those arc which I think it's pretty good because of the Bellamy vs Luffy fight. Also Blackbeard gets introduced for the first time in Jaya. So overall I think Jaya is a solid A, just below the Baratie for what Baratie signifies as Zoro vs Mihawk. Next up we have Skypiea. Skypiea has its moments. NL, one of the best villains of One Piece. Like, he's just God. He's just good. He's just God. Also, the Gold City arc is amazing. Also, it just fleshes the world. Also, there was the moment of Gold Roger writes on the golden poneglyph, which is amazing if you ask me. And I think it's an arc which deserves and A with a promotion to S. Water 7 Saga. As a saga with Enies lobbies and Water 7 combined, it's an easy S. It's one of my favorite sagas of One Piece and I don't even want to argue or anything. Water 7 Saga is just peak One Piece. Wrong Link, Wrong Island, EGD. EG lowest D. It's one of those arc which I don't think should exist, but also yeah, it's Oda, nothing goes to waste. Next up, Water 7 as an arc is in solid B. Water 7 lays the foundation for Enies lobby, which is an easy A tier, solid A with a promotion to S. Like Sanji movement, Zoro movement, Luffy gear second, gear third, Mary. Enies lobby just is insane. Just is insane if you ask me. Next up, post Enies lobby, which I think is it's below Lockdown and above Reverse Mountain. Because you get the Sunny Go moment and also Garp gets fleshed out and also you have Dragon, it's Luffy's father moment. Thriller Bark as a saga, I think it's a solid, it's in solid C. And Thriller Bark as an arc, it's pretty, I think it's not the best of One Piece, but also you get nothing happened. Like it's one of those arcs which I think when it's low, it's pretty low. And when I think it's high, it's pretty well damn above high. So it's an A or an B, which I think if given a solid A, let's give it an Lose A. Because I think the Zoro movement is just peak. There are a lot of other movements like the zombie one which is pretty fucking funny, but I think overall it signifies what an Lose A should be. Giffel Creek Saga. I didn't know that there was a name. I always called it the Marineford Saga, but if you think about Marineford, S, just easy S. Saba Odi introduces the worst generation. Saba Odi gives you the crew separation. Saba OD gives you Rayleigh, OD gives you Roger. People underestimate how good Saba OD was. When Luffy punches the Celestial Dragon, there were so many moments which I could remember from Saba OD, which are just amazing. Just amazing. Let's give it a solid A. Like not above Enies lobby, but a solid A. A solid A. Amazon Lily arc is, I think, it's good, but it's nothing to brag about. You get Boa Hancock, but also overall it's an solid C. Above Thriller Bark, but less than East Blue Saga, less than Lockdown. No, it's not less than Lockdown. It's less than Lockdown. I think Amazon Lily signifies what a C should be. Good, but not the best. Impel Down arc. This is something which I'm pretty on the fence about. While I love how great Impel Down is, I think Impel Down was pretty long. But you also have Bon Clay, you also have Crocodile, you also have Jean Bay, you also have Ivankov, you also have Magellan fights. There were a lot of great moments on this arc. Let's give it a solid B with a promotion to A eventually. The Marineford arc, S. Like, we don't need to fight on this. We don't need to discuss why Marineford is an S and it's not an A. Like, you have Whitebeard, you have Roger, you have Ace, you have Blackbeard. There are just so many moments that I could count, and it's just good. Post-war arc, I think it's a C. Like, you do get the 3D2Y movement, but I think overall it's a C. Like C. So okay, Fishman Island is a lower C. Return to Saba OD is a lower C. Return to Saba OD gives you a lot of moments, like too slow. Zoro cuts the ship of those pirates. Also, you get decent movements from Rayleigh and everyone. Considering we have like East Blue Saga with Arlong Park here, and Lockdown, which we get Bartholomew setup, post Enies lobby arc, Dragon arc. I think Return to Saba OD definitely sits here at a lower C. Next is Fishman Island arc, below Saba OD. No, I think overall it's a high D with a promotion to C. And the reasoning behind that is, while there's a lot of lore flushing in Fishman Island, overall it's not the best arc. I don't think like Fishman Island is one of the best arcs of One Piece, and I don't think it's as good as the post-war arc or Enies lobby or even Amazon Lily. But okay, we'll reconsider Fishman Island at the end. Dressrosa saga is an A. Like, overall I think Pankhazard, Smiles and Dofi fights, like Pankhazard is a C, is an high C. Why? Because you get Caesar, there's a lot of bullshit in Pankhazard, but also you get Smile setup, the law cutting the factory movement, which is just good, great. Other than that, in Dressrosa saga we have the Dressrosa arc itself. While you could argue that Dressrosa arc isn't the best of One Piece, I think it pretty much signifies what One Piece aims to be. A power struggle between the moral good and moral bad, where you could argue one is right, one is wrong, but it's just an argument at the end of the day. Everyone has their own reasons for doing shit they do, and Dofi is just an amazing villain. You also have Sabo, then you also have the moment. You also have Gear 4th, which is just banger. Overall, I think it's a solid A, just below Enies Lobby. Just because I think Enies Lobby isn't an S. The Four Kaiser Saga, the Yonko Saga. It has Wano, it has Reverie, it has Whole Cake, the end of Whole Cake category. How could the Four Yonko, the Four Emperor Saga couldn't be an S? It's just amazing. Overall, when you combine all the factors that affect an saga, I think it's an easy S. Like Joe arc is an high B, and it's an higher B with a promotion to A. The next is Whole Cake Island. It's one of those arcs where if you binge it, it's just pure bliss. But someone like me who has watched the entire thing weekly, it was a drag to finish. I don't even remember how many chapters they ran through the forest, and I don't even remember how long the Katakuri and Luffy fight was. But at the end of the day, when you rewatch it, it's just amazing. Just amazing. So I think Whole Cake also deserves an A. Like, you have Sanji versus Luffy. While I could have argued that Whole Cake deserves an high B with a promotion to A, like, Whole Cake at the end of the day has the moments which just shine for itself. The moment where like Luffy versus Sanji comes back, Luffy fights Katakuri, Luffy sees the future, like Beje, Beje Devil Fruit getting fleshed. Like there were a lot of good moments in Whole Cake, and I think it easily deserves an A for what it is. Next up we have Reverie, B to A. Like, it's better than Zoe, but it couldn't beat Whole Cake when it comes to, because it was a short arc. I don't even think it should be considered an arc, but it's an arc. Lot of big decisions were taken on Reverie, but overall it's a short and sweet arc which I don't think deserves an A, but it's good enough to be, which can be promoted to an A. Last up we have Wano Kuni, S, just S. Like, I don't even want to argue why Wano Kuni is S. It's just S. Like, the animation, the story, and there are moments which aren't even adapted, which will break the internet for sure. Also, overall, it's an amazing experience. Wano Kuni is just peak of an arc. It's One Piece at its best. So after rearranging the S tier, we got like Wano Kuni at the first, then we got overall Water 7 as an arc, then we got Marineford. We can arrange this, and I think for Yonko is like, yeah, this is where it sticks. And Saga, yeah, I think this is what the S tier should look like for my tier list. Enies Lobby, Dressrosa, Sabaody, Skypia, Baratie, Chaya, Romance Dawn, Alabasta Sky, Thriller Bark. Thriller Bark. Oh, like, no, the Zoro moment. Okay. So Thriller Bark for Zoro moment, it's above Alabasta for me, and below, yeah, this I think does a good justice to what A should signify. Next up we have B tier. So let's see, Reverie, so Impel Down, Water 7, Drum Island, Reverse Mountain, Post Enies, East Blue Saga. I think the only change I would make is get Post Enies a little higher and so a little lower. Yeah, I think Reverie should be below post. No, it should be above post Enies lobby, but below, because like you couldn't have one of the best episodes of Ano Koni without Reverie. So it's a it's a decent-ish enough to be marked as this. Other than that, we have Pankaj, Amazon Lily, Post War, Thriller Bark, Little Garden, Whiskey Peak, Fishman Island, Return to Sabaody. I think this is pretty good. C tier, it's good. Fishman Island, Orange Town, yeah, yeah. Ring Long, yeah. Worst, better, good, God, amazing, good. Yeah, this is like the final tier list that I think I'm pretty satisfied with. I think this is what my taste in One Piece looks like. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Anime Rookie signing out.